which is, we've spoken with a lot of different businesses. I think it's well over 500 over the last few months. And we keep hearing the same sort of questions from people, which, you see some things on Instagram where you see them online, and you kind of get a sense that there's a lot happening with AI agents and you can do a lot. But I guess the thing is then, what can you actually do? What's hype versus what's real? And what can you get done in your business? And so I guess what we'll be talking about today is all of that. We'll go through a bit of an agenda briefly shortly. I guess just to say, I'm Jake Allan. I'm a co-founder at ZeroToClaw, and we built this business after, I guess, a lot of experience in different organizations, running SaaS as well as in consulting. I spent 6 years as a director at a strategy firm. We work with large digital transformations like MyGov, digital identity were a couple of them, to name a few. And I guess as we seen over the last 5-10 years, we've started to go into machine learning and then to AI models, and now we're into the world of agents, which is really exciting. And I'm very happy to be joined with Daniel, who's also a co-founder here. Daniel, do you want to just quickly introduce yourself?
Hey guys, yeah, I'm Daniel. And as you can probably hear from the accent, I'm originally from Germany. I moved over to Sydney 9 years ago or so and started working in big tech here in Sydney as a software engineer, and then tech-led projects and built out AI systems for both millions of users and also little startups. And so yeah, definitely been working a lot on AI systems in the past few years. And yeah, Jake and I joined forces then to do this with OpenClaw and with ZeroToClaw. And yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but I'm excited to be here with you guys.
Yeah. And I guess we're going to go through, we've got 4 sections to this. So what can, an AI agent actually do? Want to talk about what you need to be able to do as someone who's a business owner or working in a business. How technical do you need to be, and what does that actually look like in practice? So we're going to show that in the form of some demos, so you can see kind of behind the scenes and see it live. And there's always a question around data security, which is fair enough. So, and that's really important. It's your data, that's your competitive edge a lot of the times. And so that's actually where we started this business, was we saw a lot of people who were experimenting with different AI agents. And I guess based on our backgrounds, Daniel and I, it was, how do we make this something fit for businesses? And so we're going to talk to the different things that are considerations that are needed for that as well. So let's get in it. I think this is the land of what can AI actually do for your business? And the answer is a lot. I think basically the ideal end state is that your agent can unlock a completely new way of working. And what this means is that means you can work across multiple things at one time, where you're working on something where it requires judgment and your agent is running its tasks in the background, and prompting you to make those next steps. And I think when I reflect even on my way of working, that's changed, where you would normally have a really focused session and maybe you'd be chatting with, your team members off to the side. But what this looks like now is basically having conversations with lots of different agents and being pinged, when they're ready or they've done their work and they're ready for their next steps. And sometimes that can be a long time too, depending on how you set it up, because they can work autonomously. But the ideal end state is that this is something that's self-learning and really knows your business. And I think that's one of the best things about having your own AI agent, is that it's plugged into your data and your business. So it really gets to know you intimately. But this is not how a lot of people are using AI at the moment. And we'll show like the differences between what that is at the moment. But effectively, AI or AI agents at the moment can do anything that they're connected to. And it does sound simple, it can connect to HubSpot or my CRM. What can it do? But think about you as directing an employee or another person, marketing agency or whatever that happens to be. You can effectively, whatever permissions that the applications allows your agent to do or have access to, it can do. And I think Daniel and I were surprised at how easy it is to actually do those things, even though we're working in this every day. So recently we connected it to Meta, and it analyzed all of our different results, made suggestions for improving the ads based on the historical performance and our conversion rate. And then it produced better quality ads based on our ideal customer profile. And then it continuously improved the customer profile based on, the new data that we're receiving from our CRM, so that we have like a really clear picture of who we're targeting, and that follows through back into Meta. And so, like, if you had have asked me, I guess, or us, maybe 12 months ago, whether that would be possible, I would have thought that would be almost out of, but it is extremely simple to do now. I just want to check if there's anyone else there's two other people that are in the chat. One sec. Okay, I think we've just added a couple more people into the conversation. But yeah, effectively, you want to think about it like that. So whatever your agent is connected to, it can do. Daniel?
Yeah, so I guess like on this, it's one of these things where your agent also really compounds. So what we found is that over time, the more you interact with it, the more it gets to know you and your business, and also your preferences, and it's kind of like a team member. So at the beginning, obviously, it won't know anything about what you're doing and how you like, emails to be written, or like what your business is about and your strategy and all these kind of things. But one really cool thing with these AI agents is that it's something where the more you talk with it and the more you integrate it into your business, it'll really just get quite a broad view, and that only gets better over time. And so yeah, it basically means you don't have to repeat yourself all the time, and you don't start from zero on every new conversation. Like oftentimes you can just pick up from where you left it. So imagine yesterday you talked about the meta ad improvements, and it suggested you to target different people. Then on the next day, if you come back to it and say, hey, like, can you please retarget to like this new audience? It'll just know that like what you talked about previously, and it'll actually do it based on like all the knowledge that it gathered over time.
Yeah. And I guess that's the thing, like when you first have an AI agent, you're going to have to, it's like onboarding an employee. So you really do have to give it like the context. And that can be it can be actually simpler than an employee, where you just connect it to your CRM and then it will understand your business. You can connect it to your sales data, and because it has the capability to be able to analyze all that information, and it has references that you can research and look up based on different comparators that you may have. It can research those things too. So it can do things a lot faster, but you do need to feed it that information. So yeah. I think the other thing is people have this question around, well, where should I go with AI? Like there are a lot of different options here, and what's the benefit of having an agent? And I think, basically it comes down to ownership, because effectively when you have your own AI agent, it's on your own server, you have your data connected to it, then everything that happens there is yours. Whereas when you're on some other platform or you're using an AI model directly, not only do you have the issues that Daniel spoke about, or didn't really talk about, but he mentioned the benefit of having an agent, which is that it remembers things. You've probably been in the situation where you're having to give it context that you've already given it before, and so that doesn't happen here either, because it's all data that's on your own server. The other key point, I think, is that the best AI model really does change every week, and so you'll see all these updates from different companies. There was Claude released, or Anthropic released Claude Opus 4.8 recently, and people are saying that it doesn't perform as well as 4.7. And then, ChatGPT released something recently, and you'll see that there are hundreds of different. If you go to our website, you can see a model guide on all the different AI models, and they all vary based on the capabilities that they have, whether that's what was that? Sorry, Daniel?
The use cases.
Yeah, exactly. Capability and use cases. And so having an agent that is independent of those AI models means that you can always choose the best model for the best type of task you're doing. And whatever you do, you can build on that, because you want to build your business on something that is something that you own rather than you rent.
Yeah, and so I guess what we see from actually some studies, and also with all the people that we've talked to in the businesses, is that a lot of people are actually using AI already. Actually, most people don't even use AI, but a lot of people do use AI, but it's a very, very small percentage that actually uses agentic AI at the moment, actual AI agents that do things for you. And so we really see it as a largely untapped opportunity right now. And what we hear people say from the ones that use it, especially our customers, is that they can get done a lot more with a lot less when they use it. And the other thing that I think is going to happen is that we're right at the beginning of this, right? At the moment, it's you get an edge a little bit when you use it, but in the next year, or I don't know in which time frame, but in some time frame, this will just be the new way of working, right? We're not going to be the only ones who discover that you can just get way more done, and just have way more impact with agentic AI. And so we believe that this is going to become the new normal pretty soon. And I guess everybody in this call is probably ahead of the curve by definition, because most people don't actually even know about this, I think. But that's why we think it's super exciting to get into this right now. And I think we can have an edge by embracing it.
Yeah. So we've got one more person coming in. So I guess, what does it look like in practice here? And I guess it happens in lots of different levels of sophistication of what AI is. So I guess when we're talking about ChatGPT, you're effectively just copying and pasting. If the task is to follow up with a lead, you're probably, if you're using ChatGPT or some AI model through a browser, there's a lot of manual effort, and it's effectively doing some of the drafting of the writing or the typing for you. Whereas if we look at, say, level 2, where it's then kind of an AI that's doing the draft and doing more of the follow-up as a lead's coming in from your CRM. It's drafting the email that then you're reading and then sending it across. And where we all want to head with this is, and where our clients are, is where a lead is coming in and it's running on a workflow, on a trigger, so that when, say, a lead comes in through Meta, the agent is automatically following up with it, logging it in the CRM, and then doing all that autonomously without you really needing to as the input. And that's all very possible for anyone starting out to be able to do. So there you go, Daniel.
Yeah, I guess the thing that we probably would say that you shouldn't do, or you should, get maybe more acquainted with your AI, is that the first thing is to not give it unrestricted access to like unknown third parties. So, people outside of your team or all of your customers, or, just have anybody message it. That is definitely going to open it up to like some security issues. So we want to be like, if you want to do that, it's possible, but we just want to think through then like which other things we don't give it access to. And then, the other thing obviously is like, if you've already got a mess and you try to automate like a mess, then it's just a faster mess. But what we see most people who are successful with it do is that they develop a feeling with their AI agent. So, they'll start slowly, maybe it'll be read only or just drafting things. And I guess most people actually start with email automation. So, they might say, oh, please, I get like the same 10 emails every day, and can you please just respond to them automatically? And so what you can start with is to just have it draft these responses and, proofread them and make sure that it actually got your instructions and that it actually works in the way that you think it does. And once you've developed this feeling, you can go to the next stage of actually having your agent automatically just send these emails without you reviewing them, until it just fully runs on its own for like certain tasks. But we would recommend most people who just get into it to be in the loop and review things first and develop like this feeling of like, where is your agent really good at and where does it lack instructions? Because that's the biggest issue, where it'll do what you say, but then maybe it'll, misunderstand something. And so that's just something where, you want to develop a feeling.
Yeah. And I think it's probably also good to say here that certainly people have set up agents like OpenClaw by themselves. And I just say, and we can get into this, but by default, a lot of these tools are very powerful, but they don't have the security or guardrails that are wrapped around them. And so you just want to be mindful of if you're setting something up yourself, that you're doing it in a way that is protecting your data and your clients. Because we've seen people who have gone down that route and then come and spoken to us because they have, they've had an AI send something to one of their friends. It's innocuous at that, but obviously that cannot be good if it extrapolates to the rest of the client base and with important information too. So I think like let's get into how technical do you need to be to use an AI agent. And really it is very simple. So you effectively use a messaging channel, and that can be Telegram, WhatsApp, Slack, Discord. So it can be in your work tools or how you communicate. And you're effectively giving tasks and instructions to your OpenClaw. And your OpenClaw or your agent is effectively coordinating the messages, understanding the context of that, and then interacting with the applications that you want to use to do a task, and then producing the work. And it's not more simple than that. You don't need to code. You can either use it via voice to speech, so like via a voice message, or you can use it via text. It doesn't really matter, but it's really not that complex of a task to do. think we're going to get into a demo now.
Yeah. So we've got a little live demo just prepared to, also maybe talk to the point of how technical do I need to be, and also how does it work in practice. And so I might just share my screen of our actual company Slack. So I hope you guys can all see this. So this is our actual Slack, and what you can see here is our messaging channel. And so we've got an internal OpenClaw set up, obviously, and we called it Sky. And we use it to automate things, but also to help us like in our day-to-day. And so one application that we've set it up with is Bravo. So we use Bravo as our CRM. And I just want to show or like demo how we could like send an email campaign or like just an email to like a bunch of people, and how we would do that through this OpenClaw. And so you can see in this channel, we've, we can talk to it via voice messages, or we can also just, send a normal text message, like we can type out a message too. But I guess for the sake of this, I'll also just record an audio clip. And so, hey Sky, can you please create an email campaign to the people who attended the webinar today? They are in the webinar segment in Bravo, so you should find that. And when you draft that email, please just add a greeting, say that it's from you, our AI agent, and then also add a call to action to visit our website, ZeroToClaw.ai. So I'll just send that off. Maybe I'll mention Sky. And what it will do now in the background is it's probably going to connect to our CRM and have a look at what is this email segment this guy just talked about. And it'll find that segment, and then it'll design the actual email that it'll send out. And like all of you should receive it. So we'll see how that goes. This is a live demo, so I hope it's going to go well. But we've done this in the past, and it worked quite well. And usually in our day-to-day, when we do stuff like this, we would probably just say this and then go on with our day and do other things. So we wouldn't actually just stick around and wait for it to respond, because it just does it in the background. And then later on we might check back to see what it said. But yeah, it'll do these things now here in the background. And I guess let's just keep our eyes peeled for the email that should come through any minute now.
Yeah, it's funny. There are quite a few memes at the moment where you've got people walking through like airports with their laptop half open. It's because their agent's running on their laptop, or there was one a few months ago where people are just waiting for their agent. They're just staring at a screen waiting for their agent to finish their work. And so obviously that's all a joke, and you should be running multiple things happening at once. Does anyone have any questions at this stage? And maybe you can put them in the chat, or you're welcome to speak up as well. We're happy to answer them too while we're just waiting for this to go through.
How many agents do you have set up in your business?
We have one main agent that connects to our database, but we've got about 5. There's a couple of reasons for that. Like, we wouldn't recommend anyone start off with that to begin with. It's just that we have, basically the principle is that you want to start with one agent, to get, I'm going to talk about this a bit, but you want to start with that agent to get used to it. and for it to start to know your business. But what will happen when you have more and more and more tasks is that over time, when you've got too many tasks and too much context, they start to get to a point of mixing up some of the figures and numbers. And so, like, an example might be if you've got your agent doing all of your, let's say all of your finance and accounting, you've got marketing, you're doing customer research, you're doing your strategy and everything else. At some point, you're going to ask it a question, and it's going to get a little bit confused as to what you're meaning. And so basically, you'll get to the point where you'll start to see it not working as well, and that's typically the point where you want to have a new agent. And so as we've gone along, we've seen where it's got to the limit and seen where it's worked really well optimally, and then have moved on to the to develop another agent.
So do you keep one agent per sort of category now?
Well, sort of. I mean, we basically, you can set up your agent initially so that you would set up an agent, and then you would have different conversations with your agent in different message groups. That's typically one of the best ways to set it up.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, you might have a group chat with your agent and your team about marketing or about social media, and then you would have a separate one about finance, or you'd have another one about something else. And so you effectively start that way. Mm-hmm. But you'll start to see the more and more you do that you might need to have a separate agent for different types of functions. But I think you do not want to go the route of having. So we've got someone who has 18 separate agents. They run a marketing agency, and they have 18 separate agents that are running around their business for all different functions. And that's just because they're producing a lot of work. But that's a really complex setup. So, yeah.
And it also depends on the business structure, right? Like some businesses are going to be more, they would benefit more from having a lot of agents, and other businesses will benefit more from just having one agent, right? And so it depends on the use cases, and yeah.
Why don't we, I think while that agent's just producing that work, why don't we just go to another demo? This one's pre-recorded, and it's going to show.
We've actually got a response now that it's
okay.
So yeah, I guess now let's just wait until the CRM sends it out. But yeah, can quickly show this. Yeah, I just responded saying, yeah, the campaign has been created, and yeah, just sent that out to our webinar segment.
Okay. Does everyone have that, or?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess now it's with our CRM and to send it out, but yeah, it should I guess it will be a couple of minutes, and then it should be sent out.
Yeah. Okay. There's a couple of questions that have come through. We might just leave them to the end. Feel free to keep putting questions into the chat, and then once we get through the content part, we'll get to the Q&A. But I might just we'll wait for that to come through, that agent response. But I might just show a quick demo of like something that's more complex to set up, or something that's a bit more sophisticated that AI can do. Just a demo that we put together for a property agent.
So
let's just bring this up full screen.
So I've just listed a new property in Brisbane, and I want to call all of our database and see who's interested. So I want you to go into our database and have a look at all the people in Brisbane who are interested in a 2-bedroom property. We currently have one listed at 14 Ronald Avenue. I want you to contact all those people, find them, and then we're going to contact them all and see who's interested simultaneously. Awesome. So let's contact all those 300 simultaneously and see who's interested.
Hey, is this Jake?
Yeah.
I'm calling about 14 Ronald Avenue in Greenslopes. It's going to auction this Saturday. Got a quick minute?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, tell me more.
It's a really nice, renovated 2-bedroom character cottage with timber floors, a north-facing deck, and a big level fenced yard. 405 square meters. Would you like to come see it before the auction?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We definitely want to see it beforehand.
Great. When are you free? Any day this week work for you?
What days do you have available? I have to quickly look at my calendar and see what my partner's available.
Fair enough. What day were you thinking? Once you let me know, I'll check what slots we've got available.
Like if we could do Monday, that'd be awesome, or Wednesday.
Let me check the calendar for Monday first. I've got Monday at 10:30 in the morning or Monday at 2:30 in the afternoon. Which works for you?
10:30. That's perfect.
Perfect. Let me lock that in. Awesome. You're all set for Monday at 10:30 in the morning at 14 Ronald Avenue. Thanks so much,
Amazing.
Jake. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow.
So that's just a little taste of it. That property demo was hooked up to our booking calendar, so CRM and booking calendar, and I guess our whole database. That was all dummy data, of course, because it was just a demo. But you can certainly do that for any type of business. And again, it was connected to a voice agent that we had set up, as well as all those other tools. So yeah, cool.
I guess the point is that you really just talk to it in natural language, right? And that's pretty cool because it can do all of these things. So for example, with that email, it would have coded up a little HTML page. I hope, like, I didn't actually look at the email yet, but usually it does that. And I didn't actually ask it to code something, right? And so, and that's completely abstracted away on how it does these things, but it just does them, right? And you just have to talk to it in natural language. But then, like, the other question is on how secure is it and where's my data? And so we get that question from everybody, and I think it's like a really good question to ask, because with great power comes great responsibility, I guess. And so on this, like, with OpenClaws in general, and like also definitely on our platform, by default, like, we run our servers completely private, so we don't expose them at all to the internet, and that already takes away a huge attack vector of people just targeting OpenClaws or vulnerabilities in OpenClaws, which they get fixed really, really fast and really well, and OpenClaw is doing a great job on fixing these vulnerabilities. But if they are not even exposed to the internet, then even if there isn't a vulnerability on authentication or whatever, then it can't even be exploited. So I guess, like, that's like one thing to really keep it secure. And then what we've done is we've basically put a whole authentication layer on top of that, that we've built ourselves, and it's like a whole server that is only there to, like, make sure that whoever accesses the OpenClaw is actually authenticated, and we use multi-factor authentication and permissioning and stuff like that, and also audit logging, and just make sure that whoever accesses your OpenClaw is actually supposed to. And then the other cool thing that is really easy to do from the platform is just to, like, pull the plug at any time, right? So we haven't had that happen yet of anybody who wanted to do it, but we hear that question actually sometimes of people just being like, oh my God, like what if it goes rogue? Can I just pull the plug? And so that's like something that can be done from anywhere in the world for that platform. And I hope it will never have to be used, but it's good to have that option, I guess.
Yeah, and I think so. Basically, with any of the tools that you add, you can also give it different levels of permissions. So you can have it, as we've got here, you can have it to read something. So it can read your CRM data, for instance, but it can't draft anything or make or edit changes to your CRM or any customer records. Or, you know, it can draft it, but it can't send it and distribute whatever you've created. Or you can go the whole way and basically allow it to have full permissions, and then it can do exactly whatever you want it to do fully and run autonomously. And of course, that means that you need to build up your like how comfortable you are with your agent, and that just happens over time. I guess it's just like an employee.
How long did it take you to get to that stage with that agent? With the real estate agent, how long did that setup take?
Well, like the setup itself, because we were configuring it for, well, we'd already have had a database. So we just assumed that there was a couple of things that we would have already had in place in any business, but probably about a day and a half to set that up fully from scratch. And the reason why that was more complex because we were also working out our sales script and setting it up for the first time. And so, and all the connections in the back end. So like if it had to connect to the data CRM, it had to connect to the calendar and appointment system, had to connect with text message system, and as well as like have access to a phone number. And I'd say the fiddly part in that was really getting the script right, and the routing of that correct. But like, again, it's all just, once that's set up, that could be reused and repurposed many times. And so what we find with developing a workflow is it's just like any process that you would be developing in a business. So you would be, you know, mapping out the process, understanding the steps, understanding what the agent needs to connect to and how you want it to work. And then also working out the edge cases for that particular workflow, because there will be a standard process that follows, but there will always be edge cases. And so that process of catering for those edge cases is typically what takes the most amount of time. But yeah, that was kind of from like start to finish.
And so from there, with that conversation that it had, is that something that you have to adjust yourself, like say this next time, or will it just learn a new script to say based on the answers that it's getting?
Like it depends on how you set up your memory system. So you can provide it feedback just like you would an employee, and then with that feedback, take that into account next time, and so that the agent is self-learning, which is how we've set up all of our agents. And so, like basically, like the memory is an important part of this to set it up right. Again, like there are some great capabilities with agents, just straight out of the box. But we find that often businesses want to get a lot more out of their agent, which means that the memory of it needs to be a lot better, because reliability is important. And so, like, yeah, that's where we've spent quite a bit of time building into the platform default settings, which makes memory better. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess this is like a bit of a question, like where to start. And we spoke a little bit about this before, but I would say like I would start with one agent and pick one thing that you want, high value thing that you want to automate. So sometimes that may not be the most, like the highest value thing you could automate in your business, but it might be a repetitive task that takes up a lot of time, and through freeing up that task gives you back more time to spend more time to develop something that's more complex. Not that it's necessarily the most complex in the world, it's just like you want to start simple. And I think Daniel will talk about this in a second, but you just want to build your confidence through actually doing things rather than just, reading theory and reading and kind of watching YouTube. You get way more done by actually doing and working with your agent. So that's kind of the whole thing of start with one focused agent, start with one focused task, and then build up over time.
And so I guess what we see as a pattern with like what people do at the moment is that, or I guess in general with like AI, like things are changing all the time, right? And we get like, it feels like 10 new models come out every day, and new AI agents and this is like such a fast moving space where we see like some people just wait and see and hope that it becomes obvious. And some people, and that's like the most heartbreaking one, is that they try every new tool and like, it's like kind of a shiny object syndrome, but never actually get anything done. And I guess what we're thinking is that the best way of like actually getting value out of it and not just playing around with it is to start picking one thing, like whatever it is, and make it work, and then start compounding, because that's the thing that we really see is happening with people who use it. Is like you'll start automating something super simple like your emails, or like your CRM, or ads and things like that. But then once you've automated one thing, two things, five things, it starts to compound more and more, and you also start to just learn how to use agentic AI in general much better. And so I guess the one thing we would recommend is to just get started and actually start that compounding to get value out of it.
Yeah. And I think like back to, this is just like a bit of a proof in point that we started with Julian, and I just remember the first conversations, he was really enthusiastic, and just before he was about to push go on getting an agent, he became really skeptical and wanted us to hold his hands the whole way. And I guess he just didn't have the benefit of like coming to a webinar like this. He just dived straight in. And I remember it was like a Friday, and we just kept getting all these messages over the weekend. The first couple of messages were like, how does he do really basic things with his agent? Like, how did he connect it to email? Or and now we're already connected to email, but that was something that he wanted to do, and to draft a few things. And then over the weekend, things became more and more advanced. And so he ended up like creating a website. He ended up rebranding a whole line of supplements that he had, did his strategy for like his properties. He had like a property development he was selling, and he had redid his whole sales strategy, and then ended up like redoing all of his meta ads as well. And so like, I think Julian was someone who did not wait to ask questions. We've had others that have had a slower start, and that's because they've asked for permission. They've really just they've wanted to check before they do anything. And so unlike that, Julian basically just went in heads first and did it. And I think this can happen pretty quickly too. Like, Julian was over a weekend. We also had another client actually this Saturday who moved onto our platform, and we connected it to ServiceMate. So that's his quoting software. And he has like client management and schedules and his scheduling in there as well. And we just got a call with him today, and he said that he was able to, by following up with leads that he hadn't been able to get to, he generated over $20,000 in new jobs over like today, like yesterday and today, because he had his OpenClaw that was following up and working without him, getting to the things he couldn't get done. So we can send that video around too if it's of interest. But this thing can happen. This can happen really quickly if it's set up right. So
yeah, and so what we also see happening, because one of the things that we're doing a lot are coaching sessions, and so in these sessions, what we find is that agentic AI is not just a tool, but it's kind of like a skill and like a new way of working that has to be learned in a way. And I like to compare it to search engines, so like Googling, where we needed to learn how to search for things on Google. And you can just type in the whole question, but you would probably use keywords and do it in a certain way and just develop that feeling for how to Google well. And we see that it's the same thing with agentic AI, where you have to, like, you develop a skill where on day one you'll be able to do things, but the more you use it, the more you get done. And so there was like this one coaching session, it was actually with Julian, where he came prepared and had like all these questions that he wanted to get answered. And we talked through the first 2 or so, and then he was like, oh my God, we don't even have to talk about the other questions that I wrote down. I think I got it now. And so at some point, we see that with like almost all of our customers, it's that it clicks and you develop this feeling of how to interact with agentic AI. And that's like the unlock that we see, that it can only really come through using it, right? And the more people use it, the more obviously you're going to be proficient. But with Google, you don't have to be a search champion to get value out of Google, but developing that skill of Googling is something that is really useful now. And I believe it will be the same with agentic AI.
yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it for some of the content, but we're very happy to answer questions and stick around to do that. So happy to go longer because we promised 15 minutes, but let's just answer whatever people have. I think the first one was from Kevin. Kevin, you've asked, so what's the 2 to 3 must-do items any business should do? And then maybe 2 to 3 nice-to-haves. Kevin, are you meaning like 2 to 3 kind of activities, or is this to do with setup, or in terms of automating, using AI to automate like different parts of tasks or workflows? If you're still there, it'd be great to understand a little bit more about that question.
I'm trying to work out how to unmute the speaker.
Yeah, that's all right.
Well, we've spoken about Simpro, but it was really just, what would you do straight out of the gate, just to ease the pain point, because the cost isn't, it's minimal, but what's the must-haves and what's the nice-to-haves that you can build on?
Well, I think, so first thing, you really want it to get to know your business. So I think from that, you want to think about like, where's your data stored? So if it's Simpro, and it's probably also likely your email, out of the box, we always connect it to email and calendar, and that's useful for email triage, but it's also good for an AI assistant to get to know that. But then also like your Simpro, so if that's where you're quoting and scheduling and just your customer contacts, then I would be connecting it there, and likely your CRM. And then your AI agent will have a base. You can ask it to go and index the different customers that you have. And so a really nice thing to do is to, like, basically what will happen is your AI agent, it's effectively coding in the background and creating a little mini database of knowledge. And so it creates these things called markdown files. Daniel's going to be able to go into much more detail than I can on this. But effectively, you want to do that as one of the first tasks that you do. And then from there, I would just pick one thing associated with those tools that you can automate. So yeah, I guess that depends on what's important to you.
Yeah.
It could be many different things that are useful. But yeah, I would think about one of those things and just have quite a simple process with it too. So it doesn't need to be like the longest process. I'd pick a relatively short, maybe 2 to 5 step process. That way that you can have it done. You can get a sense of accomplishment. Your agent you've got a proof point, and then move on from there.
Oh, right.
I guess like there are also 2 ways to think about it when you ask, what should I focus on, right? And so you can either think of it being an amplifier and it doing like additional things that you just wouldn't get to otherwise. So it can automate things for you in the background that are high value, but it could also be a time saver, right? So it could do repetitive tasks for you. And depending on whether it amplifies you or saves you time, you'd probably, for the amplified thing, obviously you want to do the things that would have the highest impact for your bottom line of the business, right? And for the time saver things, you probably just want to use the formula of how many times do I do this task and how long does it take every time? And so depending on that, you can prioritize what will have the biggest impact for your business and start with that one thing. But the thing that we really would recommend is to do one thing first instead of everything at once, because it's really easy when you do everything at once to get caught up in the weeds, and then you don't actually see the impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I spoke to Jake just last week about I'm on the road quite a bit, so if I can have an agent just create 2 simple tasks to save me powering up a laptop or an iPad or something else like that, or even messaging someone in the office, I'll save not just a fortune, but it pays for itself in the first couple of days of stuff. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Kevin, we might move on to, so Ben had a question just about cost, and I think this is a common question with agents. So because effectively, like, for what's happening is your agent is the coordinator and it's connecting to these AI models that are doing the computational power, like those are the ones that are doing the processing. And then it's connecting back to the agent to then produce, complete the work. And so there are a number of ways that you can optimize your cost. The first is in the setup. So there are a number of functions in an agent that work on an ongoing basis. One of those in OpenClaw is called your heartbeat. And your heartbeat is effectively like a health check for your agent that is understanding like whether or not it's operating well. And so by default, OpenClaw, or the agent, wants to do a good job, and it wants to make sure that it's checking that frequently because it wants to be operational for you. And so one of the things that we do straight up is to make that heartbeat check a lot less frequent. So it's kind of looking from a setup perspective, it's looking at the functions that the OpenClaw or the agent has straight out of the box, and then looking at, does it need to do it, and how frequently does it need to do it. And then the third aspect of that is, what model is it using to do those tasks? So on our website, this is like free information that anyone can have a look at. but we have a model guide, and you can see that you kind of want to pick the right model for the job. And there are like a lot of different models. Ben, who's I believe still on this call, Ben created this. It's really quite complex. Ben's a maths, he's a mathematician basically, and was got a maths degree and basically like benchmarked all this stuff. But effectively, you'll see that different models are more or less expensive than each other. And so ChatGPT 5.5 Pro is $180 per million output tokens. So like a million output tokens is just a relative measure. And that's kind of like confusing, I think, for a lot of people. We're actually working on something to help like quantify that. But you can see that ChatGPT 5.5 Pro is much more expensive than DeepSeek. And, Grok is kind of like, is still a lot cheaper than Claude Opus. So they vary in cost, and they also vary in like capability. So you can see like different models, like for image is different from video, is different from text to speech, and speech to text. So like in terms of in terms of cost, what you want with when you're looking at the setup, your agent probably doesn't need like the most capable model in the world to run those functions, and so you can limit cost that way. And then also from like an ongoing basis, you want to pick like basically what's the least sophisticated model you can get away with to run a task. And we've been experimenting with lots of different models. We've experimented with like Opus, like DeepSeek, and a whole lot of others. And I think like if you play around with them, you probably likely reduce your cost quite a lot. So yeah, we're able to use our agent quite a lot. I mean, it depends. Also, it's also a relative thing too, because if you're getting like as Julian was saying, like he got $30,000 worth of work in like a few days. Like if he spent a few $100s on that, then like it kind of doesn't matter. So it's all relative.
ROI is, it's all relative to ROI, yeah.
Exactly. So I think to answer your question, Ben, there's things you can optimize, like to reduce your costs, and then it's about picking the task that makes sense for you and your use case. So James, you had a question about the voice agent. Yeah, that was 11 Labs. So yeah, we used that. We actually built a router that where you can select different AI models for the different tasks that you're doing. And so I think it's like there's one other product out there at the moment that does something similar, but we've got over 300 different models plugged into our routing. And so that's in beta at the moment that we're going to release soon. But 11 Labs is what we use for that. So you've got quite a good selection on 11 Labs. I think it really helps to spend the time to look at the different quality of voice, because you get lots of different types of like voices. So
that was my next question. Are there Australian accents on 11 Labs? Your one sounded kind of Australian, but
Yep, there are. I mean, there's certainly a lot of American ones because I guess that's just going to happen. But there certainly are quite a few. I think when I was having a look at, there was like over 20 different types of voices. Don't quote me on the exact number, but there were definitely more than 10 Australian voices.
Okay.
So,
Cool. And I'm guessing with setup, like I can like probably with anything, I could just ask my own OpenClaw, how do I set up 11 Labs and start a voice agent, and it'll direct me.
Yeah, your voice. I mean, you want to use AI to help you build AI.
Yeah, it's pretty meta.
Yeah, and I mean, there are things that, so we find that people get tripped up often with connecting to applications. So like, say for instance, it's a, you know, they want to connect to their CRM, or they want to connect to some tool. If you don't have, if you're just doing it by yourself and you don't have a platform like ours where you're integrating with, you'll have to go through the process of like speaking to your agent. It'll tell you the steps. You'll have to do some steps like generating an API key, as an example, and then you'll go back and forth and like connect it. And often that means that you have to create different accounts and everything else. And they're all things you can definitely do, right? It's just that it's not, it's a more technical thing, and your agent can guide you. But that's why we've connected with over 1,000 pre-built integrations, just to make it really easy. So you can just pick the application you need and then connect it, and then away you go. So you don't have to stumble or kind of take a little bit of time to get it started. You can just get running.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Was there any other questions that we can help out with?
Where do you guys start and stop in terms of setting these up for people? Like, do you have a hard line of how far you delve into these?
I think so. So basically, like, we can get as complex as someone wants. You know, we're working for a medical firm, like a medical practice that certainly has a really complex use case, and so that's it. But I mean, the way that we're working is we've built out like a platform, and so we're effectively a product. And so, like, when you get set up on the platform, it's a secure setup, and your agent will be connected to a messaging service, and it will be connected to like 300 different models that you can select to. And so you get a fully functioning agent that like understands you and your business, depending on the package that you select. And that's on our pricing page on our website. But effectively, you'll be connected with different applications so you can get started. And then we have like onboarding / like coaching sessions where we can help you with like configurations. But there's a lot out of the box that's already pre-configured for you. So a lot of the things that we spoke about before, like for instance, cost optimization, that's something that we help with on an ongoing basis. So cost monitoring and optimization and security and everything else. And then, yeah, inside the platform itself, we do have a whole lot of how-to videos as well. So, and we're, you know, the library is admittedly smaller than we'd like, but that's, I guess, part of the reason why we're investing in building it. This is like the platform. And so you can see, like, you know, these are the integrations you've got, and these are just booking coaching sessions, etc. You can see your API like cost spend. And then, yeah, it comes with like tutorials that we build for people, and then direct support as well, depending on how that comes. So, yeah, did you have a particular thing that you were looking to get done, Braden?
Probably a magnitude of things, to be honest. I think given we've learned what it can do and the capabilities, so we've been fine-tuning our systems in the background so it has something to learn from.
Yep.
We had to adjust a few things, and our back-end accounting in our project management software, and a few different things that we needed to be able to create rules for. So we've spent the last 6 months or so doing that. So yeah, from accounting to site acquisitions to rules on site acquisitions, feasibilities. Yeah, there's lots of different avenues within our businesses that we that are time consuming for us, that are easy to create rules for. So yeah, probably I would say 5 to 6 different avenues off the top of my head.
Yeah. Yeah. No, sounds good. And that's like pretty typical, by the way, to do. And I think, yeah, I think it just depends on like where you want, like how much effort you want to put in versus how much you want someone else to do. We can talk about like building that, like if that's something that you were after, and yeah, we can chat about that as a, you know, off the webinar, but for sure. Yeah.
Beautiful. I'll be definitely keen for that. So
Awesome. Okay. Sounds good. Did anyone else have questions that they wanted answered, or things that are just on your mind, or something that isn't clear? Okay.
that's after chat, but thank you very much for your time, and that was very insightful. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, yeah, well, I think we might close this off. Feel free to reach out. We might send an email around just with, yeah, just our contact details, and maybe that testimonial when it comes through from Grant. So
Awesome.
all right. Well, have a good night, everyone.
Cheers.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye. See you, Kevin. Bye.